And I was unable to pull up our minutes from our last work session to see who opened us up with the Pledge of Allegiance. So Diane, would you, did you do it last time? All right, let's see. Pat, what about you?
My pleasure.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Please stand as you're able. The pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now if we'll pause for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We are now at a recognition, and let's see. Kim, would you like to read the resolution for National Volunteer Week? Do you have that? Can you pull that up on the agenda? If not, I
have it.
All right.
National Volunteer Week, April 18th through the 24th, 2021. Whereas the entire community can inspire, equip, and mobilize individuals to take action that supports our community and public schools. And whereas individuals, organizations, and businesses connect with local volunteer opportunities through Guilford County Schools, 126 schools, to help transform learning and life outcomes for every student while adhering to health and safety protocols. And whereas during this week, all over the nation and in Guilford County, projects will be performed and volunteers recognized for their commitment to service. And whereas our schools' volunteer coordinators play an essential role in welcoming, organizing, and motivating our district's volunteer force of over 3,000 individuals and nearly 30,000 service hours thus far, despite not being able to physically volunteer in our schools. And whereas our volunteers and volunteer coordinators' contributions are essential to the district's success. Now, therefore, we, the Guilford County Board of Education, hereby recognize April 18th through the 24th, 2021 as National Volunteer Week. We encourage all citizens of Guilford County to recognize those who serve and volunteer in the community and in our local public schools as we come together to make a difference.
Madam Chair, do you want to move that as a resolution?
As a proclamation, yes, ma'am.
Let's move the proclamation.
Second.
I don't know if we were just recognizing that. I don't know if we need to vote on it, but all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And thank you to all of those that volunteer in when we get back to our in-person meetings. It has always been a joy, I think, for the board to be able to see the faces of the people who come into our buildings and make a huge difference in the lives of children and our school employees. So thank you for that, Kim. We're now at approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I would like to interject a change to our agenda. As chair of the legislative committee, I would like to move that report to the consent agenda.
Is that a substitute motion, Kim?
Yes, it's as a substitute motion.
And you wanted to change that, you wanted to move something from the agenda?
Yes. 2021 legislative agenda to be moved to the consent agenda.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor, let's see, I'll just go down the list here as I see everyone. Betty?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Anita?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Winston?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
And Dina, yes. All right, so that passes unanimously. We are now at the consent agenda, and Board Member Anita Sharp has asked that we pull policy 2127. So Dr. Contreras?
Sure, I want to make sure I caught that one. Which one, please?
Policy 2127, Board Member Technology Use.
Got it. Thank you.
That
Good
is,
evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This evening's consent agenda includes several items. Those items are A, approval of February 27th, 2021 and March 2021 meeting minutes, the personnel report, the 2021 budget amendments, transfer report, and D, proposed policies for first reading, policy 2325, 2340, 2341, and 2342. That concludes this evening's consent agenda for your consideration.
Madam Chair,
Point of order, we also put the 2021 legislative agenda there.
I'm so sorry. As item E then.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions about D 2, 3, and 5.
Okay, so let's move D 1 through 1, 2, 3, and 5.
No, I have questions about 2, 3, and 5.
Right, and Anita has 1 already pulled, so
Okay.
put that aside with that, and we are now voting on A, B, C, D4. Yes, D4. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a
I'm
second?
sorry, and E, legislative agenda.
Thank you. Electronically, it's hard to move that on paper, so thank you. All right, so we're voting on approval of the consent agenda A, B, C, D4, and E.
We don't have a
So
second.
moved.
Yeah. We already have a motion from Diane, but no second.
Okay, I'll second. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, Betty,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Anita,
Okay, yes on A, C, and E, no, A, C, and was 4 that was left, a quorum?
D4.
D4 or yes.
Okay, so a no on E.
No on B, no on, well, that comes later, and no on E, right.
Okay, great. Thank you. Pat,
Yes.
Winston? Winston, did you say yes?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Kim,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
and Dina, yes. A, C, and D4 pass unanimously, and B and E pass by a vote of 8-1. Okay, so Anita, D1?
Yes, D1. I have a question that's probably for Jill. I'm not sure. But Jill, on policy 2127, can you tell me under what circumstances emails may be publicly released? Emails, text, whatever, may be publicly released.
Well, it would follow the same as any other public records request. So if there's a public records request, we would go through the same review to see if there are privileges that apply or other legal protections. And if none apply, then the documents will be treated like public records.
Okay. And this goes back to policy committee. Is there a reason why we would not include that in our policy?
Are you asking me?
No, I said back to the policy committee.
No.
No?
Why we would not include it?
Yeah, I'm asking why we would not, we talk about releasing of, any kind of records that we have, but we never discuss under what circumstances they would be released.
Yes, Ms. Sharp, I believe we have separate policies that govern public records. I'll need to look that up. Are you?
We don't refer to public records being released in here. We don't talk about that at all. Under what circumstances they would be released. I move to table the policy, send it back to committee, and let's talk about circumstances under which this information would be released.
Is that a motion, Anita?
Yes, I said I move. I'm sorry.
Second.
Is there a second?
Linda, second.
Just, may I make a point of clarification? In the references on the policy, which is pretty much taken from the model policy of the School Board Association, under cross references, it does reference public records, retention, release, and disposition.
I understand that. I've read it all, and I've read those cross references also. I think it would behoove us to make that clear in some way in the policy. I've had several personnel contact me about that and asked if we could, by phone, by the way, and ask if we could make that clear.
Okay.
Could I offer a friendly amendment, Ms. Sharp, that would, if we can include that language that you would like stated, and then.
Kind of hard to craft that sitting at the board table. I think it would behoove us to put it back in committee where we can hash it out. Just my feelings. If you want to make a friendly amendment, go ahead and we'll see where it goes.
Well, I think with a friendly amendment, if the policy chair and the committee are open to it, I think your request is certainly, I think is logical and could only help to clarify. And I don't know that we need to brainstorm on the language for weeks necessarily. If you have some specific language that addresses that specific public records part of that.
I would look to Jill for that.
Like maybe Jill could help us.
Unfortunately, I would synthesize what you've got in your public records policy, and it's big, and I was trying to read it while we're doing this. I don't really have time to, while we're sitting here, to read the public records statute and make sure that these are consistent. I would want to do that.
So we have a few more people that have their hands raised. Maybe we can, after Betty and Kim, Jill, give you a little bit more time and come back to this before.
I'm not looking at you. It's not because I'm not interested.
Yeah, I hear you. But we can probably come back after you've had an opportunity to read that, to revisit that before the board meeting ends. Would that be okay, Pat?
Yes, great idea. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Betty and then Kim.
Okay, Madam Chair, we went through this at the policy committee meeting, and maybe Dr. Carr or Attorney Wilson can assist us with this. Rather not see it go back to the policy committee. We've already discussed it during the meeting.
Thank you, Betty. Kim?
I just want us to recognize that these policies are going out for the first reading. Mm-hmm. So technically they are still in committee for discussion. So tonight we're just approving that they go out to the public for the input part. Right. We're not discussing whether or not these are the policies that we are voting on tonight. They're going out for the first reading. That's our agenda tonight.
So if it's okay, if we can give Jill an opportunity to read through this and then make a decision on, well, we can delay voting on whether or not to send it back to committee after Jill's had an opportunity to see if there's something that she can craft to put in there before the meeting ends.
I'm having trouble raising my hand. Every time we do this, something changes. I don't want to keep interrupting you, but I'm having trouble raising my hand here.
Can you put it in the chat, Anita? Because I have the chat box up.
Yeah, I have the chat. Yeah, so I just put in the chat when I want to say something.
No, you just put your name or just say I have a question or whatever, and I'll call on you.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So we can get things working or back in person. All right, so we're gonna just delay that for voting on that until Jill's had an opportunity to read that. And we are now at reports from the chair.
As a point of order, you still have a motion on the floor. So either we're gonna vote Anita's motion up or down.
Or Pat's, Pat, you did you make a motion?
He made a friendly amendment.
Second to that?
No, there was.
So we're at Anita's motion. So if Anita, would you retract?
If you want to just put it on the table until Jill can respond, can we do that?
But there's still a motion, so we have to act to the motion.
Can we not put it on the table till Jill can respond?
Are you saying table the motion?
Yeah.
Till later on in the meeting, yes, that is what I'm saying.
Robert,
You could consider the other two policies that were pulled until Jill has a chance to read it. There are two other policies.
Yeah, exactly. I was just saying, just give Jill a chance to read that and we'll come back to this.
Right. One point of order for Ms. Wilson, however, is that our public records policy is in the old manual. There will be an updated public records policy when we get to that section of the school board. And at that point, I would imagine the alignment will be solid because the School Board Association will have written both of them versus the old manual that we're currently phasing out.
May I ask if you've reviewed what that's going to be?
I can get it. I haven't looked at that. I just know that they align. That's part of what we're paying them to do, is to align all of these policies to make sure that they stand up.
But we don't know, do we, if they have made reference to this in their public records policy?
I don't know tonight. I'll have to get a copy of that.
Yeah, thank you.
I do know that they made reference in this policy to the public records policy, and typically when they make it in one place, they make it in the other policy as well, has been the pattern throughout the last 1.5 year process.
So Anita has a motion, it's been seconded, and we'll vote on it as soon as we get through these other two policy items that have been pulled, and she's had a chance to read it, okay? So Diane, you had some questions about D2, 3, and 5? You're on mute too, Diane.
Can you hear me now? All right. Starting with, I think this is 2. This is the one dealing with, it says the board will conduct in accordance with the suggested rules of procedure for small local government boards. That's the one I'm referring to first. Okay, and all I want to know is, do we have this, I assume, is it a book or is it a online? How do we get the suggested rules for procedures of small and local boards? Or was that a part of our initial early training?
So it was sent out within the last year. There's a PDF that I believe we can share again. They are currently working on the 3rd edition. And so we may just want to say something like most current edition rather than 2nd edition. But we can share that again. And then when the 3rd one comes out, we can, which we just found out not too long ago, we can order that copy and send the new one to everybody. We do have copies of it available in the superintendent's office as well.
Okay, and then this probably doesn't need to be a part of this policy, but is it possible for us to have some type of training on what this is? I mean, you assume everybody knows what parliamentary procedure is, but we have demonstrated that that's not necessarily so.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, all right.
I know board training's already being scheduled, and I think the superintendent has spoken previously about perhaps making this a part of that.
Okay, thank you. Then the next one is on the voting method. At the bottom, it said it has to deal with written ballots, which is the only time I can recall that we've done this is when we do the election of the chair and the vice chair. And so my question is, do we actually destroy these, or is this what we intend to do going forward? After, because I think it says in the last two lines that the ballots will be destroyed after the minutes of the meeting have been approved.
So we have destroyed ballots previously. This would be a continuation. I think we probably did it immediately after the vote was recorded rather than after the minutes were approved. So that would be the change.
Okay, all right then.
And this is a policy recommended by School Board Association that we don't have currently.
Okay, all right. And then in the last one, which is board meeting news coverage, even though I'm not sure that this is the place for this, but in the last line, you talk about if the board holds a meeting remotely, it will provide some means for members of the public to listen to the meeting. My concern is that because we have been doing, like tonight, meetings remotely, and though we have the email public comment, do we have the capacity or the capability of allowing a different kind of interaction if we're doing a meeting remote for public comment? Or is the email going to be the standard way of doing this?
I think given the technology we have right now, the email is the standard, and that it has been vetted by our legal counsel, that approach. At one point, the change that we did make from that is when the board had an official public hearing. And you'll recall that at that point, the emails or the comments were given to the board chair to read aloud into the official record.
Okay, well, that kind of bothers me as far as, and like I said, this may not be the place for it, but just, are there other ways to allow for public comment to be actually heard, as opposed to assuming that we read them and that's in this, and the board chair just acknowledges that we got them.
Right. Well, I would say that the school board tends to have public comments more than what's legally required. Many sitting boards do not have public comment at every meeting. So my sense is that we're well within, sort of what we would expect and anticipate. It's challenging to open that up in the middle of the meeting without then opening your secure meeting environment to a lot of other issues that would then be out of our control.
Okay, well, I would remind you that when we went through the training with the Council of Great City Schools about what we as a board valued, and I understand that this board is different now. One of the things that we said we valued to keep was comments from the public.
Sure.
So I just, we obviously, now this new board might feel that that's not so much the case, but the old board felt that that was one of the things that we felt was important to keep in the process of revamping our agenda and trying to streamline it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think most of the changes that have come about haven't had anything to do with the school board shift, but simply in reaction to the pandemic.
I understand, but I just know that there is a frustration that people who are making comments to the board, at least by email, that are they really being heard?
Sure,
Which,
I certainly hear that. Yeah,
that they are being heard is a different thing. So those were my questions, and unless somebody else has some other comment, I'd like to move items 2, 3, and 5. D.
Hold on. I think, Anita, did you have a question about those as well? You're on mute too, Anita.
And part of the policy, 2127, board member technology use. One of the things that we talked about in policy committee and that is in this policy involves board members using different devices while we're in an active board meeting. Can somebody wax eloquent on that? Because I have forgotten what that discussion involved. I know that we talked specifically about looking things up and taking public input and all of that during the meeting. Am I remembering that correctly, policy committee members?
Yes, you are. And also it was about doing FaceTime and YouTube and all the other things during the meeting.
Okay, well, I'm continuing as late as 2 minutes ago to get references sent to me from other board members during the meeting, and it's annoying to say the least. So I would appreciate if we would refrain from trying to make a point by way of sending links.
I posted a link in the chat, and in the policy committee meeting where you were there, Anita, we made it clear that it did not apply to looking up references. It applied to broadcasting and engaging the public through a forum that then wasn't fully public.
But that's not what the policy says.
Well,
Yes, the Ms. Sharp on the page 4 of 5, I mean, this is what it says that captures that is board members may not use social media platforms to record or live stream during board meetings, retreats, work sessions, committee meetings, or other official gathering. It doesn't say you can't use it.
It says board members are cautioned. This is page 2 of 5.
Mhm.
Board members are cautioned that using personal technology devices or accounts to conduct district business or store district business related ESI will significantly reduce their expectation of privacy. Board members should avoid the use of personal technology when conducting district business.
Correct. And then it goes on to specify in section 3D, the additional information that was discussed in the committee meeting. On
So
page 4
it
of 5.
applies, so what you're saying to me, Nora, is it applies sometimes? That's what I heard.
No, I'm just putting where the information you were looking for was provided in the policy.
So it depends on who's doing the sending as to whether it works.
That would not be my interpretation, but perhaps.
I just find it extremely annoying to have board members try to correct other board members while we're in the process of a meeting.
Got it.
Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion to move D2, 3, and 5. Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry. I see Winston, Linda, and Betty.
I'm happy to move with the vote. I would say that the policy does not say what Anita is intimating, that it only applies to some and not to all, that it may be in how people understand the difference between a technology device and a platform. And so it is not meant to restrain any board member from researching information, and we do use the chat. So I don't know if Nita's referring to people texting her directly or to the link that I posted about the School of Government PDF rules in the chat to provide that as useful to board members.
What I'm saying, Winston, I don't want to debate this. What I'm saying it is distracting and annoying for that to occur during a board meeting.
Well, you could close the chat, so some people might find it helpful.
I can't close the chat because I cannot raise my hand. That's the only way I have of communicating with Dina.
Well, you don't have to open what she sends.
I didn't.
So it was in relation to Diane's question, and it's there as a resource, so not to harass you in any way. So I'm happy to thank you. That was my comment.
Thank you. Linda, and then Betty.
Mine is a little bit off with this one because I thought we were finished with this one, but because But I just simply want to know, we added several contracts on the personnel report at the last minute. Was there, and Jill or Nora can answer why we added those contracts at the last minute to the personnel report. I mean, they look like renewals, but I'm just curious as to why those didn't go with the rest some time ago.
Okay.
I can. Dr. Morrison updates the personnel report right up until the last day, and we've shared that with you numerous times, that the personnel report changes multiple times right up until the meeting.
Not that I had a real problem, but I just don't like getting information, because if there was something significant, I might have wanted that. I didn't have any problem with the ones that were added. They look like standard renewals, but you know, they may adding that late. I may not look at it again, and there may be something put on there that I'm not aware of that I may have an issue with. So that's my point about, because those were added extremely late today, just before the meeting basically, or something. So I'm just asking for courtesy to make sure it's not 2 hours beforehand. So that's my only point, not a major, but just asking for some courtesy on that. Thank you.
Thank you. They were added this morning.
Betty?
Yes, I want to piggyback with Ms. Sharp. As far as what you mentioned, in our meeting, I know a lot of conversation was going on, but during our meeting time, we mentioned that it was certain people, without calling names, because we're not supposed to call names when meeting. There were certain people that was recording during the meeting, during the policy committee meeting. Also, they was on their electronic device during the board meeting. So that's the reason why we have this, and that's the reason why we decided to approve this. Do you remember that conversation?
I do remember that conversation.
Okay.
But I also know that that person that we were referring to was not the only one. And the conversations go back and forth. You know, I need to concentrate on the meeting personally, not doing research.
Okay, thank you.
So Diane made a motion. Is there a second to approve items D2, D3, and D5?
Second.
Thank you, Kim. Let's see, Betty?
Yes.
Linda?
Not looking at those. So D2 was which one?
Board
meeting
coverage. Parliamentary.
All right, good on that one. Yes.
This is D2, 3, and 5.
Okay, so we're not voting on 2027 then, right? All right, then I'm good.
Thank you. Winston?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Anita?
No.
And Dina, yes. So those passed by a vote of 8-1. And Jill, have you been able to get through the 21-27?
I have. I have also read the model policy, although I'm familiar with it, of the school board association that they're proposing. And I don't think it addresses the question Ms. Sharp is raising. And so I will suggest what I suggest, and I think it's up to the board whether they want their provision added or not to 2021. I would add it as a freestanding paragraph after 2A, which would make it right before the letter B. And I would add this sentence: documents may be released to the public pursuant to a public records request or any other reason specified by law.
Can you repeat that? Motion to accept that amendment?
So moved.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jill, could you repeat that one more time for me, please?
Absolutely. Documents may be released to the public pursuant to a public records request or any other reason specified by law. In other words, you could have a subpoena, you could have a court order, you could have personnel investigations, you could have a lot of other legal reasons to look at the document. So I didn't want to be too restrictive. So I think this language covers all examples I can think of.
All right, so Anita moved to approve the 21-27 with the amendment that Jill just added. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Pat. All right, Betty.
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Winston,
I have a question, but we didn't get to that, did we?
I'm sorry.
So no, because I did have a question, so I say no.
Okay. Kim,
No.
Diane,
No.
Deborah,
No.
and Dina, no. So that passes, that fails by a vote of 5-4.
Move the item. The
All right.
original item.
Or is there a second?
Second.
All right, Winston. The first on my screen.
Yes.
Linda,
I was a little startled on the last one. So where are we at now?
we are back to the original policy 21-27 as it was written in the. Let's see, Pat,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Deborah,
No.
Betty,
Yes.
Anita,
No.
Dina, yes. That passes by a vote of 6-3. Okay, let's see.
I thought that was 5-4.
I think it was Linda and Deborah and Anita. Pat, Pat voted yes. So who else was that, Anita?
Madam Chair, I believe Ms. McGregor voted no. Am I correct on that?
No, Winston voted yes.
Okay.
Did I miss someone? I have, the no votes are Linda, Deborah Napper, and Anita.
No, I don't think you did.
Okay, so it passed by a vote of 6-3. And we are now at reports for the chair and at my brief. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I believe, could the chair of the policy committee restate what the purpose is? I think she said it at the beginning, as far as this being a first reading, which I think means that we could come back with other changes once the public has a chance to look at this.
Yeah, she stated.
Is that correct?
That was my comment, Diane.
Well, I was asking for you to just verify that, Ms. Irby, because I just wanted for people to understand that it is possible that we might make other revisions based on public comment. Is that correct?
That is correct. But yeah, that was the legislative chair that made that comment, but that is correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then my other question is, do we not have the option of turning our personal devices off if we don't want them to bother us during the meeting?
Yes.
That didn't come to me through a personal device. It came through the chat during the meeting. But yes, we do have that option.
So moving through our agenda, just a few comments to share about our district. Congratulations to the 32 students who were accepted into this year's Governor's School of North Carolina, the nation's oldest statewide summer residential program for academically gifted students. It's located on the campuses of High Point University and Meredith College. The school integrates academic disciplines, the arts, and unique courses. The program offers 10 disciplines for students to explore: art, choral music, dance, English, foreign language, instrumental music, mathematics, natural science, social science, and theater. The Career and Technical Education Department will host its first week-long CTE Credential Blitz, April 19th through the 23rd, to promote credentialing opportunities across the district. Industry-recognized credentials help students build solid resumes, prepare for college, and have a competitive edge in the workforce. Look for more fun facts about the career and technical education credentials on our school and district social media pages. Congratulations to our Battle of the Books winners. This year's competition was held virtually in late March, and it included 28 schools. Our elementary winners are Brooks Global Elementary in first place, Jones Elementary in second place, and Florence Elementary in third place. At the middle school level, our winners are Northwest Middle in first place and Swan Middle in second place. And at the high school level, our winners are Northwest High in first place, the Middle College at UNCG in second place, and Grimsley High in third place. The college kickoff series finale will take place in April with 3 more sessions on April 15th, 22nd, and 29th from 6 to 7 p.m. The sessions will help students and their families with the transition to college, creating a resume, crafting a college essay, and how to get cash for college. Register for these free events at sayyes.org/college kickoff series. That's sayyes.org/college kickoff series. And this concludes my remarks. Dr. Contreras, comments from the superintendent.
Thank you and good evening again. We're looking forward to seeing our middle and high school students for a full week of face-to-face instruction on April 19th. As the school year draws to a close and end of the year exams approach, it is critically important that we maximize the time we have left. Our schools are ready to continue the success we've seen since the students first returned in March by opening 5 days a week. Thank you to our principals who worked tirelessly to make this happen. College Decision Day is May 3rd, and we want to celebrate our seniors as they announce their plans. Seniors, please share a short video or photo with your name, your current school, and your post-graduation plans for college. Send these to goodnews@gcsnc.com by the deadline of Friday, April 23rd. I am pleased to announce the winners of the Superintendent's Choice Art Awards. They are Trayson Cole from Monticello Brown Summit Elementary, Alina Powell from Fairview Elementary School, Sabrina Banks at Southwest Middle School, Iris Barger at Grimsley High, Haley Knapp, Northwest High, Bethany Johnson, Northwest High, and Dylan Harris, Weaver Academy. Haley Knapp was named the GCS Student Artist of the Year. Congratulations. The winners' works will be displayed in the lobby here at the Eugene Street building. This week, we launched Hello Kindergarten, a video series to help parents and children understand a day in the life of a kindergarten student. The series is airing on GCS TV and on our YouTube channel. Parents of rising kindergartners are also encouraged to check with their school about upcoming virtual open house opportunities. Guilford Parent Academy will host an information session tomorrow, April 14th at 6 p.m. that is designed to help parents of rising kindergartners. Visit our website for more details and a link to register. Kindergarten registration opened on April 1st and can be completed online at gcsnc.schoolmint.net. Also, the deadline to apply to pre-kindergarten is Friday, April 16th. The GCS pre-kindergarten program has more than 70 classrooms in 50 different elementary schools across Guilford County and is free of charge to those who qualify. The application can be found in the quick links section of our website at www.gcsnc.com. Finally, I want to announce that Bessemer Elementary is the site of the district's first telehealth program, created in partnership with Moses Cone Hospital and funded by a donation from the Duke Endowment and Greensboro Area Health Education Center. The program opened last week. The telehealth program will allow students who have parent consent to have a virtual visit with a pediatrician without ever leaving school. This program, which we hope to expand, is one more way GCS is working to address equity challenges within our district and support the needs of the whole child. This concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Contreras. Anita, do you have a question?
Not about Dr. Contreras' report. It's a general question about the meeting.
Okay.
Are chats public record?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I believe Angie is here to introduce Dixon Hughes for our next report on the agenda. Angie Henry.
Hi, good evening. It's good to see you. I would like to introduce to you Tara Trexler, who is our Senior Executive Director for Finance. She has taken the lead in the audit for the last couple of years, and she will introduce to you our team from Dixon Hughes Goodman, who's here to present our 2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Tara?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Henry. Dr. Contreras, good evening. Board members, I am delighted to share with you the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report from June 30, 2020 this evening. Audit work was substantially complete in the fall on the normal schedule, with the exception of the work related to the COVID funding. So after we waited till the state issued that guidance, we were able to finish that audit work and compile the CAFR that is attached to your materials. We do have a printed and bound copy. If you prefer that, that is available at Eugene Street if you would like one. And it's my pleasure this evening to introduce you to April Bell. She is a partner with the audit firm Dixon Hughes Goodman, LLP. And April will share some required information and some highlights from the audit with you.
Thank you, Tara. I am going to share my screen with you all this evening. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I'm going to share my screen and walk you through a PowerPoint presentation that will share some financial information as well as just results from the audit. All right, I cannot see everybody that's on the meeting. So if you have a question,
I'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay, all right. So. And of course, I don't know how to really do this PowerPoint through Zoom, so I don't have it like a PowerPoint presentation, but I'll walk you through the slides anyway. Okay, so the information that I want to share with you this evening, I'm going to go through just the results, the overall results of the audit. I'm going to share with you some information from communications to the board, a required communication that we have to the Board of Education because of our audit standards. I'm going to review some financial highlights, and then I'm going to review the results of the compliance audit. So we'll start with the results of the audit. And in the very beginning of your CAFR report, the big bound report that I think you all have, at least electronically, you will find our audit opinion. And this is really our product at the conclusion of our audit. And what I can tell you is that we've put here in this PowerPoint presentation just an excerpt from our audit opinion. And what this tells you is that the audit opinion is what we call an unmodified opinion, which is exactly what you would expect to receive and what you would hope to receive. That means that the results of the audit told us that your audited financial statements are properly reported in accordance with GAAP. So somebody could pull your financial information and can compare it to another LEA across the state of North Carolina and would be able to compare apples to apples because you are accounting for your transactions in accordance with GAAP. So very good results there. One thing that you'll note is that the date on the audit opinion is 2/8/21, which is a lot later than it normally is. Typically, the audit report is dated sometime in November, typically maybe December. But we did have a delay this year because of the COVID funding that you received. It was to the level that required us to perform audit procedures, and we had to wait for those the audit program to be issued by the OMB. We received that in January, and were able to finish our audit shortly thereafter and issue the report on 2/8/21. Before I go into the financial results, I did want to share with you some information related to the communication to the Board of Education. And looks like Ms. Sharp has a question.
Yes, I see that. Thank you, April. Anita?
It's not for now. It's at the end of the report. My question is when she's finished. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. You want to just ask? Okay, I'll come back to you at the end. Okay. So want to just share with you the communication to the Board of Education. There is a letter that you received that is addressed to the Board of Education. And in this letter, we are required to communicate specific issues related to the audit, because you are, as the Board of Education, you are responsible for the audit. So included in this letter would be references to significant estimates or sensitive notes in the financial statements or disclosures in the financial statements. Many of the numbers that are in the financial statements are firm numbers. They're not estimates, but there are some estimates included in your financial statements. Included in those would be the depreciable lives of your fixed assets, as well as the liabilities that are recorded for the pension liability and the OPEB liability. We also would have included in this letter any difficulties that we experienced or disagreements in dealing with management. We didn't have any of those issues. If we had had any uncorrected misstatements to the financial statements, that would have been reported in this letter. Didn't have anything of that nature. In fact, I'm not even sure that we had any audit adjustments at all. And then finally, we do make reference to the management representation letter that's attached to this communication to the Board of Education. And that's just there for your reference so that you can be aware of the representations that we receive from management in connection with the audit. So now I want to share with you just some financial highlights. Instead of going through the CAFR in detail, I'll just share some highlights from the financial information. And this first chart that we have here shows the source of your revenues for 2020, and it compares that information to 2019 and 2018. And as you can see here, the darkest blue chart bar represents the monies that you receive from the State Public School Fund. This is the source of funds that you receive for most of your classroom teachers. You can see that you had about a 3.6% increase in monies from the State Public School Fund in fiscal year 20 compared to fiscal year 19. But what I would have you remember is that not all of the money that comes from the state is dollars. Some of it is positions. Included in that also would be increases in cost related to benefits that are provided to your employees, as well as retirement benefits. And so that could be driving part of that 3.6% increase. You did have a slight increase of about 1.5% in the general and special revenue funds, and also a small increase in your federal funds that you received this year. We also take a look at your expenditures and compare how you use the expenditures or how you spent the money for 2020 compared to 2019 and 2018. And you can see that you had, about a flat percent of money that was used for instructional for 2020 compared to 19 and 20, which is really a significant accomplishment. I'm sure you're all fully aware of the significant change in your operations that you experienced in 2020 and then continue to experience during this fiscal year that we're in now. So the fact that you were able to maintain a very consistent level of expenditures for instructional type services is very significant and very noteworthy. Next piece of information that I wanted to share relates to fund balance, and you've got some pretty significant swings on this chart. So let me just walk you through what some of this information means. So if you were to compare your total fund balance from 2019 to 2020, you would see that you had about a $5.5 million increase in your total fund balance. And this is the fund balance that exists in your general and special revenue fund, but in fact, it's all in general because you didn't have any fund balance in your special revenue fund for fiscal year 20. So you did have an increase in your fund balance in total from 19 to 20 in your general fund. And you also have an increase in the amount that's available for appropriation. But you can see here that you have a significant decrease in the amount that's unassigned at 6/30/20 compared to 6/30/19. And that's really because at 6/30/20, you have appropriated $12 million of fund balance to be spent in fiscal year 21. And that compares to a total appropriation that you had for fiscal year 20 of $10 million. So just that results in the different graphs that you see here. And you can see that the difference between the amount that was available for appropriation versus the amount that's unassigned is really related to that amount that's been appropriated into the fiscal year 21 budget. One thing that we like to do is we like to compare that to the total expenditures that you have. So if I look at your fund balance that's in the general and special revenue fund at 6/30/20, 19, and 18, and compare that to your expenditures in your general and special revenue fund expenditures, you can see here that if you do what you plan to do in fiscal year 21, your fund balance that will be available for appropriation that will carry over to the next year's budget will only represent about 1.5% of your total expenditures. So just something to keep in mind. We would never recommend that you use your fund balance to appropriate for recurring expenditures, but instead, just make sure that when you're appropriating fund balance, that you're appropriating that fund balance to be spent on one-time type expenditures. Just wanted to share a little bit of information with you about the School Food Service Fund. And you can see here that despite the pandemic that we had in fiscal year 20 and continue to experience in fiscal year 21, you were almost able to break even in the School Food Service Fund. So really strong results with this fund with operations. One thing to remember is that this fund does include the liabilities and expenditures related to pension and OPEB activities. And so that makes it a little bit different than compared to the state or general funds. But you can see here that you did have a significant decrease in your food sales, but you also had a similar decrease in your food costs in this fund. So, favorable results given the situation that we had this past year. If you look at your after school care enrichment fund, though, you can see that you did have a loss of just over $1 million in this fund. You were able to be profitable in fiscal year 19 and, had a small profit in 18, but that did decrease in fiscal year 20. And that's really due primarily to the drop in revenues that you experienced in the after school care enrichment fund. One thing that I will point out is that this fund's cash balance, there's a lot of stuff going on in the balance sheet here. So it could be hard to, figure out how much reserve you really have in this fund. One thing to do would be to look at the amount of cash that you have on hand. And you can see that at 6/30/20, you had almost $1.8 million of cash in this fund. So what that would tell me is that you could have probably another year of operations similar to the one you just finished, and maybe a little beyond that before this fund would be depleted without any additional funds available to carry over and be used in the future. That concludes my report on the financial results, and I'll just quickly share some results from the compliance audit, all which are very favorable. We are required every year, you'll probably remember from prior conversations, we're required every year to audit certain federal and state programs, depending on the size of the program, the audit results that we've had in years past, and the amount of money that you receive from the program. And so you can see here that this year we were required to audit the Title I grants to local education agencies and the Coronavirus Relief Fund, which was the program that we were waiting for that compliance supplement to come out on. We didn't have any findings related to either of those programs, so very good results there. And the state programs, we always have to audit the state public school fund because of the amount of money that you get for that program. But these other programs that are smaller are audited on a rotation basis. And so this year we had to audit the state months of employment, program support funds for career and technical education, school technology, driver training, and the COVID-19 supplemental funds. And didn't have any findings with any of those state programs either. So very good results from the compliance audit that we performed. And that concludes my presentation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you, April. Anita, and then Diane.
Okay. My question concerns the federal program, the Coronavirus Relief Fund. I've been going through your entire audit, all 130 pages of it. Where in this audit can I find the portion that applies to the Coronavirus Relief Fund?
Mm-hmm. I am going to stop sharing my screen so that I can pull up the financial statements, and I can direct you to the page in the financial statements that you can find that.
Thanks.
So, yeah, just give me just a sec. I'll get that pulled up. Okay. So the results of the single audit or compliance audit are in the back of the financial statements. And if you were to look at page 129 in the very back of the financial statements, starting on page 128, that's where you can see the expenditures of federal and state awards. And the expenditures for the Coronavirus Relief Fund can be found on page one. On that page, there were $4,609,004 that were spent on the Coronavirus Relief Fund in fiscal year 20.
Okay, but your audit doesn't do an itemization of how those were spent.
It's included in the financial statements in the front. They're not broken out.
Scattered throughout.
That's right. Yeah.
Would you have that app? Could you provide that information?
I would imagine that Tara has that information.
Okay.
Yes, that is something that we could provide.
I would like to have that. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Diane, then Deborah.
Okay, my first question is probably Ms. Henry question. How do we rebuild our fund balance, or do we?
Certainly. So we have been rebuilding our fund balance. If you look at that graphic, you can see where the total fund balance has continued to increase each year. If you're referring to the unassigned fund balance, there's a certain level you want to have available to meet unexpected needs, but you typically don't want to, have that amount be so high that your funding bodies start to question why they are funding dollars that you're not spending. And so our unassigned fund balance, we want to have enough again for an emergency, but our total fund balance, we are growing. And again, you can see that in the graphic. So, fund balance is created when you spend less than your revenue that you receive. And quite frankly, in the years that we've had recently, that's not something that's been easy to do. We are very careful about how we spend our money. We work very hard to be sure that we spend dollars that are appropriated in our budget as they're appropriated, and that work starts at the level of the superintendent and leadership cabinet, and then follows through for the rest of the organization. So, it's important that we work within our budget, and there have not been opportunities for us to have a lot of savings, especially last year after going through what we went through with at the start of the pandemic, and then continued this year.
Okay, so if we used fund balance for some of the pandemic stuff, did we recoup that when we received some of the CARES Act money or monies from that kind of fund? Or is it that once you spend it, you know, there was no trading off as to what we had to spend initially and then what we got later?
So most of what we appropriated fund balance for, when you look at that number that was in April's presentation, for the 2021 budget, that was for one-time expenditures like the bus driver compensation the board had approved, the business system modernization, staff and student devices, and that was money that was generated from savings last year, and then we appropriated it to spend it in this year. And so those are the things that we appropriated fund balance for this year for the 2021 budget. That's why that number was higher.
All right, then my next question has to do with page 13, because I am glad to see that the ACES audit is, as you said it would be, in the audit. But if we could pull that back up, I'm not clear. Okay, did I hear the presenter say that we lost 1 million something? I can't remember.
Yeah, right at $1.1 million is what the loss was for the 20.
Okay, but then she also referred to the fact that there was still money in the ACES account. Is that correct?
Yes, there's still cash available on the ACES account. Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you can't pull that back up. So that okay,
it's $1.7 million is what was available on June 30th, 2020. Now, some of that has been spent as we continue to do things over the summer. So that's not the balance right now. But at June 30th, 2020, the cash balance was $1.7 million. There it is.
Okay, so but you don't know how much that 1.7 million has been reduced by as of this date, right? No.
I don't know right now. I can find that out, but I don't know right now.
Okay, was there not some CARES Act money that was used to, or is that coming out of a different pot? Whenever we did the daycares, was it in April, May, and June? Did that come out of a different pot of money than the ACES money?
We did use some of the ACES funds as we had to, as our ACES staff worked in that, but we did get reimbursement from DHHS from some reimbursement, not the full cost of operating those child care centers in the spring. But we did get some reimbursement, and that was applied back to this fund where the expenses were paid from.
Okay, so but you're not really showing that, right? Is there some way for
that is included in here? Because that ended before June 30th, 2020. So that is included in this report.
Okay, but is it possible, and maybe not in this report, but is it possible to actually see what happened? How much was spent, how much was recouped? Is that not possible to see that?
Yeah, I feel like we've shared that. I'll go back and check.
Okay, yeah. Since that came out of a different, that income came from a different source, somewhat, right?
Yes,
that income was not generated by the what the parents paid into. Is that correct?
That's correct, because parents weren't paying at that time.
Okay, so my question is, where do you show that income?
That would be in that revenues number there with the 5.1 million. That includes the dollars that were paid by parents while the program was operating through March, and then any additional revenue that we received through DSS is included in there as well.
Okay, so is there a way to break that out so that we know what that was?
We can work on that. Yeah, I feel like we've reported that before, but I'll go back and check.
Okay. All right, so based on what I'm looking at here now, there is still funds available in the ACES fund if we were to try to start it back up again.
Right, there's not enough, as you can see, expenditures are $6.2 million for last year in a program that was cut short. So, I mean, we only have 1.7 million, so we don't have enough to operate, the full program.
Yeah.
And we'll have to calculate the cost if we were to do that, the additional cost required for social distancing and the PPE and the additional cleaning that would be required.
Okay, well, thank you for keeping your word and having this as a part of the audit. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me. Deborah, then Pat, then Anita.
And I'm following up on Diane. I also wanted to look into the solvency of the ACES program, because this is, from what I understand, supposed to be a program that is solvent on its own, meaning that the income covers all the expenditures. And it looks like, if you're looking at that slide, that at the beginning of the program year, the income is not sufficient in any year at the onset to supply the program. And that's probably the way I imagine it's designed to be, because we collect those fees throughout the school year. So the same question remains. We have parents and children that rely on the ACES program for after school care. Not going to lie to you, if I was still in school, I would be one of them. And because I was always an after school kid. And so we need to make sure, I think, that this program is able to continue to function for the kids who need it. And so my question, I suppose, is not having the complete amount of funds for the entire year a barrier to restarting this program in the fall? Because it doesn't look like that's the standard from what I understand.
No, the intent is not to have enough cash to cover the total expenses of the program at the beginning of a fiscal year. It's knowing that you have enough enrollment and knowing that you have enough participation to be able to support the expenses that would be in place in any year when you're going to operate the program. We haven't operated the program this school year, are not operating it now, even when we've had students back, again, for lots of reasons other than just financial. Just the whole logistics of it is quite challenging. And so, not having it for a year, not knowing what kind of participation we would be looking at in the fall, if we were to restart the program, I think we would have to be very conservative in our estimates, not expect the $1.7 million to cover the total cost, but we've got to have that. You want to have enough available when you're getting ready to restart the program to meet unexpected either reductions in enrollment or increases in expenditures. And you've got to you've got to recalculate the cost, and that would have to be brought back to the board to approve a higher fee to be able to cover all the additional expenditures, which may impact the number of students who would be able to participate in the program.
And that makes sense, but it would also stand to logic that if you have fewer enrolled and fewer participating, you would also need fewer resources to support it. So what I'm hoping is that we can open this out and balance with what enrollment we have, because from what I'm hearing from, my district, I don't think enrollment is going to be an issue. So, and the fortunate side of that is parents are very understanding as to why we can't put it in place right now, but we do have parents looking forward in the fall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. We have Pat, Anita, then Betty.
Yes, thank you. And Angie, Miss Henry, it's so good to see you out there.
Thank you.
Take a moment to say that. And perhaps this question you can answer, I'm not sure, but on page 4, my questions are really around between March and December, those CARES relief dollars. And forgive me if I didn't see them in the many of the pages of the attachment. But in looking at the $20 million, again, at the bottom of page 4, directly to Guilford County Schools for the impacts of COVID, and then the additional $16.5 million, and then there's the $650,000, and then lastly, the $2.5 million, I think, from the governor's fund. Can you direct me to a page where all those dollars, where they were spent and for what?
So that's not going to, that kind of detail is not going to be in this audit report. I think you'll see, there may be some bits and pieces throughout the report, and April, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, as a whole, you know, the report, like the CARES money is included in the federal grants fund report because it came through the federal grants fund. The state fund, the money that came from the state through the governor is included in the state public school fund. So you may see some bits and pieces, but again, it's also important to remember that not all of this money was spent before June 30th, 2020. So, you know, I think the governor's money had to be spent before June 30th, 2020, and there were bits and pieces of the 16 million that came through the state that had to be spent by June 30th, 2020, but not all of it is. However, I think we make available to the board reports that you get that show our spending for pandemic expenditures. And on that report, it does outline whether it's state, federal, or local funding source. And typically, if it's been state, it has been those state dollars. If it's federal, it's usually the CARES Act funding, and then local is just local dollars that we've redirected from savings somewhere else. So while you may not see the detail here in the audit report, you do get the detail in the report that we share with the board that has, you know, the specific items that were purchased. And I think that totals more than $40 million.
Okay, so I can get that report or look at it again. Maybe, okay, because those are the questions in my mind. And that frankly, those are questions that when you're walking around the grocery store, people will ask you, where's all the money going? And so that will be helpful for me. So I'll maybe offline after the meeting, I can get that.
Sure.
Those, however many reports we have, I'd like to see those, but
Yeah.
thank you for that.
As a reminder, Board Member Tillman, those have been shared with board bulletins. So if you look past it, some of your past board bulletins, they've been shared as attachments on a monthly basis.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anita, then Betty.
Okay, two, I will ditto what Mr. Tillman said about the COVID relief funds. We have gotten bits and pieces, a report here, a report there.
I'll make it a public record,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought about that after I said that. Right.
There's something's going on.
Nora, your microphone's still on. Sorry, Dr. Carr, your microphone's still on.
Okay. I agree that we have gotten different reports in different stages, different times during the whole pandemic. I would like to see what I think Mr. Tillman was asking for, and that is one report with everything in the same place at the same time. And it's my understanding that we're getting ready to get a huge chunk of money in COVID relief funds that will be coming soon. It'd be nice at the same time to see what the plans are for that money. But my hand was raised originally to talk about ACEs. If you look at this report on ACEs, it made a little bit of profit in 2018, a substantial profit in 2019, and then we had a huge loss in 2020, which I assume is related to the services we provided that ACEs was charged for. I'm making an assumption due to the accounts receivable that most of the people who owed ACEs money at the time we disbanded the program paid what they owed. I know we're not in this for profit, but it does look as though ACEs can be profitable, which means we can fund a higher quality program with ACEs doing their own funding. I too have concerns that so many of our, I'm sorry, we got another pop-up, another chat. I am concerned that a lot of our parents rely strongly on ACEs, and people are getting back to work on regular schedules where we're getting away from some of the work at home kind of things. It's an important program to our constituents, in my opinion. And it looks like we can operate it at a profit, even if we have to do $800,000 worth of additional things to be able to run the program. That's all.
So if you'll recall, the last time we brought a fee increase for ACEs to the board, it had been, I believe, 7 years since we had increased the fee before, because we try very hard not to increase the fee every year. So what we've done is we've increased the fee to a level that allows us to have a profit for several years. And then knowing that, you know, our labor costs continue to rise, if not for no other reason other than retirement and hospitalization costs continue to increase. But we try to, you know, create, I'm going to say a fund balance, even though that's not the real name for it in this fund, so that then we can go several years operating with a loss before we have to increase fees again. So that's, you know, the timing of when we last increased the ACEs charge, I think is right between these 2 years. So that's part of the reason you see the increase in the net income there for the 2019, or the year that ended 2019. And the 2020 year, if you'll recall, we did, you know, we did close school, I think, on March 13th. So that's when we stopped receiving payments from parents. However, because of state statutes that are state, I guess it was whatever the regulations that were passed, we continue to employ people, and people were allowed to take certain kinds of leave. So we had to continue to pay people out of this program, which generated, you know, expenses when we weren't receiving revenues. So that's part of the reason you see such a significant loss in the program in 2020. We did refund parents who had paid in advance, and we did collect receivables from parents who owed us, you know, funds, who had funds due, although we try to keep that amount to a minimum as we go throughout the year.
Thank you, Betty, and then Kim.
Yes, hi, Andrea. It's nice to see you.
Thanks,
I want to talk about the ACEs program. I know you mentioned that with the 1.7 million that we have left, that it's not enough to fully fund. I'm not sure if you want to answer this now or it'll be a conversation later, but can you tell me an estimate about what percentage you think we can possibly start the ACEs back if we decide to start it?
So as we go through the budget process, we'll talk more about the ACEs program for the 21-22 school year. Mm-hmm. I think we could probably start it where we had larger programs in place. The ones that worry me are where we had the 20 students or less in a school for after school care. I'm not sure that we would be able to start a program there, but within some of our schools, and I don't even know which ones they are. I don't look at numbers by school. I'm sure the ACEs, you know, program has that information, but I would think that and suggest, you know, and again, we'll talk about this more as we go through the budget process, that we would start programs back where we had the largest program, where we were operating the largest programs.
So you said like 75%, 60%?
Ms. Jenkins, we can't answer this until we have more understanding about the pandemic. This was not a financial decision why ACEs closed. It was about the pandemic and our inability to even open schools. So because schools weren't open and there were so many protocols around school reopening, we could not run an after school program as well. So as you see, the vast majority of after school programs are not back in session yet. And we also have not allowed use of the building yet for any for programming. So we intend to bring ACEs back, as we've said from the beginning, but it's not just about the money, it's about the right time. And hopefully we can do that right as school begins. in the fall if nothing goes worse with the pandemic, if conditions continue to move forward in a positive direction.
Thank you, but Madam Superintendent, I only asked that question because of the fact it was stated that they could not bring it back fully, but I do understand your response. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty Kim.
Yeah, I just want to take the time to congratulate Dr. Contreras on 5 years of clean audits, and for the district. You know, we have something to celebrate, and the hard work and the responsibility and that it takes to be fiscally sound and operating in this manner. So I just want to say congratulations to you for that, and thank everybody, of course, for all their questions.
Thank you, Kim. Winston?
I just want to hope that the public and board members and others, I always find the statistical section of the audit. I mean, I do pour over the financial data, appreciate the dialogue and discussion. I hope folks will pay attention to the statistical section, which starts somewhere usually around page 70, 75 and runs up into the hundreds. And it provides a really good set of information for us as a board to look at the last 10 years, trends in terms of our own budget, ADM, the number of teachers we have, how the free and reduced lunch has gone up, 25%, the number of students in that category over the last 10 years. We have fewer staff than we had. It looks at county debt and the 8%, I think max or recommended max on debt versus revenue that a county should be levying, and what a small portion of that we really have been leveraging the last 10 years and have some opportunities moving forward with bond to leverage that. There's so much rich data there, and I appreciate that and what it takes to compile that data. So thank you to the auditing team and to the GCS staff who, with not very good technological systems over the last 10 years, have tracked all of that data and created correlations and apples to apples comparisons. So I really encourage the public and colleagues and everybody to dig into those pages. It's very helpful, and I appreciate it being included. So thank you.
Thank you, Winston. I also want to thank Angie and the superintendent and Tara, the central office for this pattern of excellence and accountability and with our finances. And Dr. Contreras, this is for you or Angie. I know was the update that we received February the 4th. That was very detailed information on I think, was it 33 million in CARES funds? We had a balance at that time of around 8 million. There was also an attachment that included proposed allocation depending on as other CARES funds were released.
Yes, we did already. The report the board is asking for, the board already received when they first asked for it. Up to that time, up to the spending to that date. And we can certainly provide the board with all spending that occurred after that date, or a comprehensive report that includes the prior report that we'd given, as well as the additional 8 million that was there. Also, the additional funds still have to come to the board. We can't just spend, tens of millions of dollars without the board approving a budget. So that will be part of the budget process.
Yeah, and as the funds have been released incrementally, you have given us a report on the incremental allocation of those funds, disbursement of those funds. And I think it's allowed the board to know in real time what we're doing in that moment. So, and we will continue to get updates as we have, but I just want to recognize the, again, accountability and the transparency in making that information available to the board nearly 2 months ago. So thank you. Thank you, Angie, and thank you, April and Dixon Hughes Goodman.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to serve Guilford County Schools.
Thank you. I see no other questions. Next on our agenda, I believe, is Mr. Madsen. We're at action items, the nomination to name Northwest Guilford High School gym court. It says for the second reading.
Yes, ma'am. I'm looking for my mute button here.
Yeah, I know.
Seems to be the story of 2020 is where you're on mute. We have a nomination, sorry, looking for my public comments, to name the Northwest Guilford High School gym court after longtime PE teacher. I don't know if Deb Napper, you're the chair of that committee. If you want to share that.
Yes. This is, yes, the second reading of the same motion that has been put to the board to name the court of the gym only in honor of Miss Darlene Joyner, a teacher from Northern Guilford High School. The gym itself is named. That would not change the name of the gym. Pat and I worked together to clarify that bit of information there. So it would keep, the gym would keep its honorary title. The court would be named for Mrs. Joyner. If you would like to look back at your prior meeting information, you'll see multiple letters of recommendation to that effect. And I am quite pleased to go for a second reading.
Move the item.
Second.
Madam Chair, if I may, you will need a motion to waive the policy on the public hearing if that's the board's desire.
Okay, I move to waive the public hearing.
So move second.
You're on mute,
You're
Mrs. Hayes.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Well, gee, thank you. All right, so let's get to the other list. Winston,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Nita,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
and Dina, yes. That passes unanimously.
Okay, so now I move the item to rename the gym floor for Ms. Joyner. Is that the correct name?
Yes, Darlene Joyner.
Yes, for Ms. Darlene Joyner.
Second.
Thank you, Kim. All right, we'll go back down the line. Winston,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Anita. You're on mute, but I read your lips. Pat
Yes.
and Kim
Yes.
and Dina. Yes, that passes unanimously. Thank you. I'll now call.
Me, I say yes too.
I'm sorry, Diane, did I not get you?
No, ma'am.
Sorry. So Diane, you said yes. So now it passes, really passes unanimously. I'm sorry. All right, now I'm going to call on Betty Jenkins from the Policy Committee to, we're on item number C, new and reviews policies for second reading. Betty?
Okay, new revised policies. The policy committee and the administration recommend the board to accept policy number 1725, 4035, 7236, Title IX, sexual harassment, prohibits conduct and district response for a second reading.
Move the items.
Second.
Just for clarity, she didn't read the other three. Are we not moving those as well, Betty?
I was doing those individually. Would you like me to read all four at a time?
And if someone has any questions about them, if we're going to do them as a block, if someone has a question, then we might need to do them separately.
Individually.
Anita has a question.
That was my question. Are we voting on these in lump sum or individually?
I haven't, not aware that anyone has any issues with any of them, but if anyone has any questions or issues, then we'll do them separately.
I think, Mrs. Hayes, what the board has been doing is voting on them as a group, and board members can do what they do during the consent agenda, which is vote no on a specific board policy.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard that we had any issues with it, so we can.
Okay, I move all of them, and then if somebody doesn't want to vote for it, then, okay. So.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. Debbie seconded that motion. All right, Anita, you're on my screen first now.
Okay, yes on 17, well, number 1, yes on number 2, yes on number 3, no on number 4.
All right, Debbie?
Yes, for all four, please.
Betty?
Yes, for all four.
Linda?
I'll ditto Anita. 1, 2, 3, no on 4.
Pat?
Yes on 1, 2, and 3, and no on number 4.
Thank you. Kim?
Yes on all.
Winston?
Yes on all 4.
Diane?
Yes on all 4.
All right, and Dina, yes on all 4. So C1, 2, and 3 pass unanimously. C4 passes by a vote of 6-3. All right, and Jill, we have a closed session item, but we've got board comments here. Are we going to need to come back in open session for and to make any comments about the closed session item?
You are not, so it would be wise to do board comments, and then we can just go into closed session and come back out and adjourn.
Great, thank you. All right, Anita, you're on my screen first for board comments.
Okay, all I really have to say is I'm excited about our high school students returning to school next Monday. I told the superintendent I will do my happy dance. It's time, and every student that I've talked to is excited about returning. I look forward to a good beginning to the end of the year, and that's all.
Thank you. Debbie?
I'll echo that. I'd like to welcome our high schoolers and middle schoolers back full time, and everybody happy to be able to attend the graduation. And I would also like to echo the advice I believe that Dr. Contreras gave earlier, that if you have a rising kindergartner, please do take advantage of the open houses and things happening now. I know that the elementary schools in my district are presenting their open houses virtually. So if you're not comfortable being in that school setting just yet, we do have options for you to get the information that you need. Please go meet your principals, meet your teachers. You're going to love them, I promise. I'm also very glad to hear about the collaboration between Cone Health and Bessemer Elementary for the telehealth conference. That is fantastic. I will always, always, always be an advocate for more health here in the schools. And I love to see this nice close touch. Other than that, just tell you guys how glad I am to be getting back to some kind of function in our schools and warm weather.
Thanks, Betty.
Yeah, thank you all for, as far as the volunteers for coming out during a time when we was open to volunteer to help our students. Thank you, Rankin Elementary School, for allowing me to participate in your book drive. Thank you, Dudley High School, for allowing me to participate in your homecoming. And I congratulate all the leadership, the kings, the queens, the princes, and the prince. Thank you to Mr. Lee Williams for inviting me to your block party. We had a phenomenal time. And thanks for our City Council for District 1, Sharon Hightower, who came out to support us. Parents, thank you for your patience as we work hard to get your students, get your children, our students, back in school safely. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Linda?
Again, a lot of good things going on in Guilford County. I'm also excited about the Bessemer and telehealth. I think that's an excellent solution for families that may not have access to a lot of health care. I'm excited about getting all our children back in school on the 19th. You know, I'm not hearing any things seem to be going very well in our schools right now. People seem to be happy, and I think people are excited about getting back full time. I will put in a support of ACEs in the next coming year. I've seen that is a critical piece of supporting our parents, and especially now as they try to move forward with getting back to normal, with getting back to in-person work and moving forward. And so I just want to say that, and I hope that we can look at that strongly as we move forward. The other thing is, while I was sitting here, my email popped up that we got our board bulletin, and I saw that we've got our schedules for graduations. I'm excited about the in-person graduations. I did glance at the dates. I'm a little concerned about that, so I would encourage the parents to look at that. But we are excited about having the in-person. But I do have some concerns about the dates and of how we're moving forward. But Parents, it seems like it's going to be coming out. I don't know if I was allowed to say that or not, but since it was in the board bulletin, I figure it's coming out. So, and we already had put notice out there that, so look for it, and looking forward to graduations.
Thank you, Linda. Pat?
Just going to echo a lot of what's been said. Just want to give a huge kudos to all the staff and superintendent and their leadership to get our children back in school in person, middle and high school. Want to congratulate all of the seniors and their hard work, whether they're going on to college or a 2-year community college or military service, or even if they decide to take that gap year, that they'll continue to learn and continue to get better. I've got my own senior in my house, and it's very bittersweet. And so for all the parents that are going through that, or we're thinking about you, and just wish all the students the best, and really delighted that we're also going to have in-person graduation. I know that's a huge morale booster for everyone. And so we're just so thankful for so many things. There's a lot to be thankful for. I think we sometimes lose sight of that, and just want to lift that up and thank all my board members for all their hard work as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Kim?
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to say, I just had the opportunity last week to attend the NSBA conference, and I attended it was just so much activity. I feel like now that we're on Zoom, you just are doing so much more than when you were in person. So I did attend, the workshops that included addressing implicit bias, the work of equity, division-wide approach, Title IX information. It was just so much information that was given. I'm grateful that I can go back and rewatch a lot of the information that was shared, and the other school board members that I got a chance to meet and, discuss things with and learn from around the country. That was really a great experience for me last week. I want to acknowledge my committee, the legislative committee. I just want to say thank you for all the work and the great conversations and, that we've had around the agenda, and for allowing us to push this agenda forward. And I'm looking forward that we're going to finally meet with our delegation. I know that Nora is working on, figuring out a date where we can sit down, well, probably by Zoom, and meet with our Guilford delegation, so that way we can have more conversation around the legislative agenda that we've been pushing, I think, since I've been on the board as well. I want to give a shout out to Southwest Guilford PTSA and to Western Guilford PTSO for their hard work, and because I was able to attend, 2 of their meetings, and to let everybody know that Western Guilford is going to go forward with their golf tournament on Monday, June 14th. So mark your calendar for all of you that are ready to get out there, and tee up in golf and support them as well. And finally, I just want to send love actually to the city of Minnesota. We know that there's been more unrest there. So I just want to definitely, let us, just send a lot of good energy that way, and just continue to try to, work on ourselves and, be very conscious about what is happening in America and how we can contribute to some real progress and some healing in our country. And it all begins locally, I believe, as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Winston?
Thank you. I was thinking about as our bus drivers and cafeteria workers, curriculum facilitators, coaches, maintenance staff, APs, principals, teachers, all of this staff is doing this Herculean work to reopen school buildings and pivot again and combine virtual learning with in-person. I mean, it's more than you could expect for anyone to do. We also have leadership staff filing an application for these federal dollars that will be tens of millions of dollars that flow to urban districts like ours around the country for a short period of time, 2 to 3 years, I think maximum, for us to accelerate learning for kids. It's not about holding them back, making them start over. It's about how we can use that injection of funds to accelerate learning for kids. And it's a huge opportunity for us as we look forward. And there's a lot of hard work, I think, happening. I learned about this through my liaison with the Council of Great City Schools. So I know the superintendent and Angie and others are just eyeball deep in that work, forward facing about what we do. And then on Thursday, the county commissioners have a work session where they are considering the project ordinance that we passed, and they are set to potentially vote Thursday night so that we can actually begin to put the bond dollars on a timetable and get some schools coming out of the ground. I mean, in 2018, Hampton, Peeler, and Irwin, were destroyed by that tornado, and we have not had the resources to rebuild those schools. We have opportunities in the next couple of years to buy land before it gets completely unrealistic for us to be able to purchase, for us to deal with schools that are in the worst condition and with some of the highest growth areas. So pay attention, I think, to the activity of the county commission, because we can't do anything without that project ordinance being passed by them and the bonds getting on a schedule that allows that money to go to work in the community. And so there are so many big forward things going on. And we have a lot of big, high level things to focus on strategically that create huge opportunities for our kids, for for our community. So just kind of awed by that work that we have before us over the next couple of years, and by the work that all of the staff and employees of the district, that parents and kids are doing. Kids do the work to learn. And so kids have worked really hard this year, and we just owe it to them to work harder to help them accelerate their own learning. And I look forward to the proposals for us to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Winston. Diane.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you and congratulations. Thank you to Todd Warren for his service as the GCAE president. That organization is important to have our staff to feel that they have an organization that really comes to bat for them and is not just a showcase kind of organization. And then congratulations to Ms. Donaldson, who will take over as the new GCAE president. And I just hope she's got her big girl britches on, because she got a lot of work that she's going to have to do to lead this organization. I want to congratulate all of our principals and leadership staff that had their contracts approved. I think in a time where on the nightly news tonight, I heard teachers and staff retiring early. One woman was retiring at 61 years old because of the pandemic and just trying to figure out how to be safe in the classroom. So we gotta, thank our folk for sticking in there, for being there for our children, and thank our leadership staff for addressing concerns that have come up, because the virus is not gone. And even if you've gotten your shots, which we tried to make sure that we made those available to people who are willing to do it, there's still risk out here. And so we've got to continue to be supportive. But congratulations to all of the folks who had their contracts renewed. And we hope that you will continue to stay with us and help us to do what we need to do for the school system. I want to thank Union Hill fifth graders, music class. I got an opportunity to actually, if you will, present or teach on our technology, and it's not easy. And so I have a different appreciation now for our teachers who have been trying to keep students engaged and involved remotely. I had a chance to do it remotely to in person, but then I also had an opportunity to do it remotely to remote students. And, we need to improve the technology, but you already know that, Dr. Contreras, but it was, it was a good opportunity. And then I actually had an opportunity to come because the technology didn't work. I made a promise to go in person for one of the 5th grade classes. And I was so pleased that even the 10 minutes we had online, they remembered what I had presented to them and wanted a encore presentation, if you will. And that was my singing to them. So I want to thank their very awesome music teacher, Lily Harris. She is a rising star in GCS, and I appreciate her willing to work with me and help me understand how to use Microsoft Teams and come in person. I'm always going to be proud of the fact that when I think it was Dina mentioned Governor School, I am the class of 1969, and I was the first Black vice president for that class. So I'm very pleased that High Point U decided to give Governor School a home when Salem College, which had been the original home, was no longer in a position to continue to keep Governor School West housed at their campus. But I will always have a special place in my heart because Governor School for me was one of those changing experiences. And we actually got to watch the moonwalk while I was at Governor School. So I remember that. So for what's that, 53 years ago now? So, but yeah, Governor School is I'm glad that we fought to keep Governor School because at one point there was a move to cut Governor School. And so I'm glad to see us there, and congratulations to the students who were selected. You will have an awesome experience. Believe me, if I can still say that after 53 years, and I could go on. The only other experience for me educationally that was perhaps better was going to Carolina. We have a save the date for the Greenway, for their Wheels on the Greenway, which is May the 1st, starting at 11 o'clock. We've tried several times to give away bicycles, and every time the weather, kept us from doing that. So here's another opportunity. The Greenway is almost finished. In fact, I think the finishing date is somewhere in the fall of this year. And we started this project, and I say we because I was a part of the original group back in 2008. So it's taken that long for us to do the, as I called it, the hug around downtown. And that's what the Greenway is. So if you haven't had a chance to see the public art, we got to give it to Daphne Sanders and the other folk. They've really, really worked hard to make sure that public has had input. Our children have had input in the Greenway. So if you get a chance to walk, in fact, right down 2 blocks from the central office, Dr. Contreras, is a part of the Greenway. So it's very easy to access, even for central office staff. And then my last comment will be is that we still need to be safe and practice the 3 W's. I don't care who you are, where you are, this virus is not going anywhere. And so we still need to practice those 3 W's. And we also need to encourage folk who perhaps are nervous about, getting the vaccine to, consider doing it. You'll have, a sore arm for a few days, but, for most of us, the benefits outweigh the risk. So I hope that people will consider that and have a good start to our spring. And be safe, kids, as you're coming back to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. I had an opportunity to do a reading for April Parker called Continue by Maya Angelou, and to do a Zoom reading for Dr. LaToya Kennedy at Wiley Elementary School called Counting on Catherine, how Catherine Johnson saved Apollo 13. So it was a joy doing both of those for 2 of my favorite Guilford County School employees. Not all my favorites, but 2 of them. Would also like to thank Todd Warren so much for his advocacy, just relentless commitment to our educators, to our employees and their well-being, and look forward to working with Kenya Donaldson. I was also at a meeting this week, heard some very exciting news that Dr. Contreras has been working with UNCG and other partners and getting broadband access to our families who, were really challenged in this pandemic, not having access to the technology that allowed them to continue their instruction. Dr. Contreras, I really look forward to an update on exactly where that is in the process. I know there's it's got a price tag on the front end, but to maintain that is a huge commitment. So I was very excited about that. Donna Heath at UNCG did a wonderful job presenting that information, said she'd worked very closely with you, and you were one of the first to lift that up as a right to have access to the technology that allows you to get a sound basic education in this county. I've also been a part of a project led by some representatives representing Cone Health, looking at a timeline and identifying the decisions that had been made in the past, going back to the 1600s up until today, that have created the social determinants that impact health. And just a few days ago, the Centers for Disease Control made an announcement announcing that racism is a serious threat to health and healthcare outcomes and a contributor to health disparities. The American Heart Association has also made an announcement, the American Pediatric Association, and I will be working very hard to get education to finally make an announcement naming that, as we here in Guilford County have been plagued by structural inequities in the time that all of us have been on this board, despite all of the efforts that have been made, and that this is not a single system issue and can only be resolved addressing those historical wrongs and working across systems. So look forward to that continued advocacy in that area. And with that said, do we need to adjourn, Jill, before we do, and then we can go into closed session? All right, so we'll come back and
No, but there is a motion and lots of you have it, but I believe Anita has it. Oh, sorry.
Are you ready?
Ready.
I move we go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege and to give advice and instruction in a pending contested case 21 EDC 00756, LG by and through his parent MF versus Guilford County Board of Education.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, well, we're in closed session. I guess Nora.
watching GCS TV.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful
The pathways in our Signature Career Academy allow our students to connect the academics and the technical skills needed and desired by our business industry leaders. So our students have options of careers, not just graduation. So we're providing them with multiple pathways of success, with college just being one of them.
We invest in students and introduce them to an array of health careers so that they will get the tools that they need and education that they need as they're making the decisions about what they want to become as they matriculate through high school and college and beyond.
Some students think they want to do something all their life and then they get into college, or some of them like actually get their job and they're like, yeah, this isn't for me. But with this, like, you're getting like hands-on experience to what it could be like in the real world, so you know what you're getting into.
Here, being able to use actual equipment that we know they use in hospitals helps us out a lot and helps us get more comfortable with it. So when we see it, we don't get paralyzed and say, I don't know how this works. We know, oh, this is fitness.
The good thing is with the pharmacy tech program is that upon graduation, he will graduate as a pharmacy tech. So he can go straight out of high school to working in a pharmacy where he chooses, because he will have that certification at the age of 17.
With my CNA license, I can go to college and enroll in nursing school, or I can continue to work as a CNA. Getting this head start is gonna set me above my competitors and, help prepare me for life outside of school.
I feel like it's more hands-on. It's taught me to be more focused, more mature, and made me more responsible. CTE classes have prepared me for my life.
Our students are problem solvers with a combination of credentials, work experience, and college experience, ready to conquer jobs existing today, tomorrow, and beyond.
We've all been just really hands-on helping each other out with whatever we may need. If someone needs copies, I'll make copies while you watch my kids, or I'll get resources for this subject if you work on the lesson plans for this. We're always in constant communication, just really leaning on each other to get the job done, because it is a lot for just one person to do. So you definitely need your team, and I feel like I've been grateful to have such a phenomenal team this year.
Vitamins and minerals are elements that are present in nature. We give them letters so that they can be easily identified. They're important for our bodies and mental well-being. We find them in all types of food, and they help us to grow strong and healthy. Vitamin B1. Today, we're going to do a memory test. Where is the peanut? Nobody has a better memory than an elephant. And you know why? Because elephants eat lots of peanuts.